police officer racially profiling has to stop. Because police officers are supposed to serve and protect everyone, not just to serve and protect white people. They're supposed to serve and protect, period. They're supposed to serve and protect Steve. And people not named Steve. Brooklyn Nine-Nine addresses the exact problem with this both ways in the season 4 episode Moo Moo. I haven't seen the season 8 premiere yet, the good ones, but I can tell that, we're being made in more sensitive times where they actually had to scrap the first 4 season 8 episodes to make way for this new stuff. It's going to be a real doozy how they deal with police corruption in that way if they actually address that real world event of people protesting for George Floyd. Yeah, so in Moo Moo, Jake and Amy were picking up at Terry's twin daughters from school. Cagney and Lacey were named after that cop show. That cop show from the 1980s. And then they lose their Moo Moo blanket because Jake encourages them to play with the windows of the car. Terry eventually found the Moo Moo blanket, but then this racist police officer, Officer Maldak, stopped him. And Terry had a pretty hard time telling Maldak that he was a cop, so Maldak looked up Terry in the system and let him go. But yeah, it's really hurt Terry Jeffords a lot. He's had run-ins with the police before, but this one really stings because it was right because this happened right in his own neighborhood, and Mr. Maldak really needs to be sorry for racially profiling Terry and trying to arrest him in his own neighborhood and saying he doesn't belong there. How dare you, Maldak? Ugh. So that's why Terry had to sit down with Maldak at the diner where he told him to Maldak needs to apologize to Terry and say he won't do it again, but unfortunately Maldak wouldn't budge. Because Maldak is a police officer with little to no moral code when it comes to, he's just one of those racist fools who thinks he's one of those racist fools who he apologized to Terry for the wrong reasons. He wasn't sorry for it. That's why we're supposed to hate him. Maldak didn't stop Terry for. Maldak wasn't sorry that he stopped Terry for being black, and he wasn't even sorry that he stopped Terry in his own neighborhood. He's only sorry for stopping Terry because he was a cop too. And that really hurt Terry Jeffords because if his kids face the same situation from a racist police officer, they might not be able to play the police card like he did. And I felt really bad for Terry in this situation because he wanted to be a superhero and he wanted to help. When he was a kid, he wanted to be a superhero, and he became a cop because he wanted to help other people. Like that one cop helped him on the playground when other children were bullying him. So when he told Raymond Holt that story, and when he also told Officer Maldak that it's not the job to racially profile people like him. I mean, even though I'm not black, I could still feel what Terry was feeling, because I'd also feel really bummed out or upset if I was a firefighter or a doctor or a police officer, and I actually cared about helping people, but there were other people in my workforce who were too selfish, greedy, power hungry, or egotistical to care about helping people as much as I do, and that should be their job. And at the same time as when Terry was worried about his kids being stopped by the police officers not being able to play the police card, they were afraid of the same. Cagney and Lacey were also afraid of that when they asked Jake and Amy why Officer Maldak tried to arrest their dad that one night. They asked if being black was bad, but yeah, Amy and Jake reassured them that it's not bad to be black at all. No, it's not. No. And Officer Maldak was wrong for thinking that it was bad. And because Officer Maldak is one of those bad cops with prejudice, which means to prejudge people based on their background. And recently Trevor Noah talked about this racial profiling stuff in real life, in which an 8-year-old girl was having a talk with her parents about police officers, and she had to memorize what to say to tell police officers that she wasn't dangerous. And it really hurt Trevor Noah to see that, because he hasn't been threatened by an 8-year-old girl since he was 15, and because he was a small kid growing up. Right? But yeah, the point is, police officers are supposed to protect everyone, not just, that they shouldn't, a police officer who actually cares about doing their job right, who sticks to a moral code, would know much better than to commit racial profiling against people with darker skin than them. And they should never shoot first and ask questions later. Never. And they should stop looking for excuses to pull over people of color too. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a comedy about police officers, exemplify that very well here in Moo Moo, because most of the main characters in Brooklyn Nine-Nine are well-meaning cops who care about their jobs, but they also face plenty of other police officers throughout the series who are either incompetent or corrupt, like how there's that deputy chief or deputy commissioner from the second episode who kept letting his son off the hook for graffiti tagging police cars, and there's that guy who plays the vulture who swoops in and steals cases. And there's also Raymond Holt's biggest enemy, the Deputy Chief Madeline Wunsch. So yeah, it was although Moo Moo wasn't without its funny moments, because it was funny how Jake and Amy tried to take Cagney and Lacey's mind off of the incident with their father Terry and Officer Maldak by watching 101 Dalmatians and eating cake with them, but that only bought them time for one day, and the next day when after they processed it a little, after they've processed their thoughts about it a little more, finally ready to ask Amy and Jake why their dad was in trouble with the police. So yeah, to make a long story short, it is never ever okay for police officers to racially profile people, and every police officer should know that every police officer needs a reminder that racial profiling is not part of their jobs. And Trevor Noah is right. It's not, black people don't need to learn how to deal with the police, or at least, because it's actually police officers. Police officers need to be taught how to treat black people as equal to, non-black people, because police officers, this really needs to be said now. Police officers, part of the training program for police officers should, with all this heightened awareness about systemic racism, part of the training program for police officers should be to teach them how to not have prejudice, because I'll say this, and I'm going to say it again for the last time in this video, racial profiling is not part of the job of being a police officer. It never was, and it never will be, and the people who think that it is part of their job are beyond corrupt. I hope you enjoyed the Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode Moo Moo as much as I did. Officer Maldak will think twice before he does the mistake of racial profiling again.